Hello everyone. Today I'm going to present a project I've been working on with my supervisor, Jawon. We are from the university, Concordia University of Montreal, and this project is called Risk and Return Management through Smart Contracts Profit Redistribution. Investing into a new product or service is a high-risk, high-return activity. And in this bar graph from Correlation Ventures, we can see that among the more than 20,000 financings that they did, 65% of the companies invested in made a return over investment that is lower than 1. So those companies were not profitable. And in fact, return over investment distributions are known to follow power laws. And power laws were first observed by Vilfredo Pareto by looking at the wealth distribution in 19th century Italy. And this high risk is often taken on by investors and founders, but customers are also impacted. Early adopters are penalized by a high initial price that might end up lower. Customers are discouraged to buy if they know the price will later decrease, and they might face a loss of support and warranty if the firm goes bankrupt. When it comes to investors, a common strategy for them has been to create portfolios of lowly correlated investments, for example, from different industrial sectors, different geographical areas, or to combine investments with different risk and return profiles, as you can see in those figures, for example. But to date, there is no way to manage the risk and return profile associated with the activity of a single firm. So we propose to equally redistribute part of the firm's profit to every past customers equally at the end of a predefined time period. And so whenever a customer wants to buy the product, he will have the fixed price that he will be paying right now, and he will also be aware of how much he will get back at the end of the smart contract. And because, in fact, this price is a lower bound on how much he will get back in the end, because if additional sales occur after he buys the product, the redistributed part of the profit will be higher, and the final price he will end up paying will be lower. So we can consider a new price which is kind of dynamic, and we consider that customers are considering this price. So the dynamic price is the price minus what is redistributed at the end of the contract. And for sure, this will influence the buying behaviors of customers, and it will in turn also influence the return over investment distribution. So we model the market as follows. We define as rho as the initial price of a single unit, beta as the production cost per unit, and alpha as the fixed initial investment cost. We can get the profit per product sold, gamma subscript C, so we will use the subscript C for classic markets, and S for smart contract. And we can get the quantity of sales necessary to break even n hat of rho. And for simplicity, we'll consider that beta, the production cost per unit, and alpha, the fixed initial investment cost, are fixed for simplicity, even though in practice there is some room. Yeah. And so we have a set of customers M, where each customer is defined with the tuple TI-HI, and we have a time horizon, right? So it's a discrete time horizon. And TI is the time at which customer MI is interested to buy the products, and it's sampled from a random variable I. And HI is the maximum price a customer is willing to pay for the product, and it's sampled from a random variable H. And so a customer buys, at each time step, a specific amount of customers are taken from the set of customers without replacements. And those customers will buy the products only if the current price is lower or equal to the maximum price they are willing to pay for it. And to model the random variable I, we use the Bass diffusion model, It's a differential equation that describes how new products are adopted through time by a population using a population of innovators and a population of imitators. And here we have a discrete approximation between TA and TB. Not really. Yeah, that's it. And we have a set of parameters for this model. We have parameters P for the imitators, Q for innovators, and the maximum time step. And you can see on the red curve how it looks. And random variable h is related to the demand function. So the demand function, it relates the price of the product to the quantity that will be demanded at that price. Right? And in fact, it's equal to the random variable L, which is the number of potential customers, and the probabilistic distribution of random variable h. And it's defined between rho min and rho max. So rho min is the price for which every potential customers will buy the product, and rho max is the price for which no customer will buy the product at all. And so this demand function is often modeled using a decreasing linear function, but it also can be modeled using a cumulative beta distribution or a cumulative normal distribution. And so you can see on the right-hand side a reverse cumulative beta distribution. So the lower the price on the x-axis, the higher will be the demand for the product. And then we can define the number of sales, NC, up to time step T, the net profit, FC, and the return over investment, phi of C. And this is for a classic market, so no redistribution. Now, if we want to redistribute part of the profit, we introduce a new variable, zeta. So it's the percentage of profit that is redistributed. And we can compute what is, how much will be redistributed to each customers at each time step t. So it's this function d right here. And there is a condition. For now, in this context, the redistribution is enabled only if the current number of sales is higher than the break-even point, the number of sales that is necessary to make a profit for the firm. And so we can compute at each time step, a customer can get this information, what we call the dynamic price, rho bar, and which is rho minus d, which is redistributed at the end. Yeah, so as I said, for any time step, the current dynamic price is greater or equal to the dynamic price at the end of the smart contract. And so we have this new expression for the number of sales up to time step t. So it's a summation across all time step. And we can see that the higher bound of one of the integral is a recursive call. It depends on the previous number of sales that was made at the previous time step. Right, and so we can get also the new expression in the context of the redistribution of the net profit, Fs, and the new return over investment, phi of S. So we did a preliminary simulation. The market's parameters were sampled from a set of probabilistic distributions that we believe represent reality the most. So we fixed phi S, the return over investment distribution, to be a power law of the form nx to the power minus k, whereas the exponent k is empirically selected such that the probability for a firm to lose money after 1 year is equal to 65%. And this is related to the data that we've seen at the beginning from Correlation Venture. And here are the parameters that we used. So for sure, it's very hard to estimate those parameters in order to fit what we consider to be a real market, but we had good results. And only alpha is inferred using the set of equations that we previously defined, because those parameters are all related to each other, so one of them has to be free. And so in this simulation, we can see that the higher the redistributed percentage zeta, the more compressed will be the distribution towards the left-hand side of the graph. But because the redistribution is enabled only if the number of cells is higher than the break-even points, companies that previously made a profit are still making a profit, but a little bit lower. And we deployed this scheme, let's say, in an Ethereum smart contract. So why exactly is it a good idea to do so on Ethereum and eventually other platforms similar to Ethereum? So Ethereum enables fast and very low-cost micro-transactions. We have a trustless execution. We don't need to trust any third party. We just need to trust the math. And it's tamper-proof, easy bookkeeping. Everything is online. You can check it. And it's reliable so far, and it's widespread. And we chose to deploy this solution using a factory pattern. It's a concept that comes from software engineering. And the idea is to have a single smart contract that's called the factory. And the responsibility of the factory is to create instant smart contracts. We have the responsibility to handle payments for a single product from a single firm. And there are several benefits to using this kind of pattern. First, firms can focus on the proposed features. They don't need to delve too much into the code, into the engineering, the security. It's simpler for them. Second, the responsibility for code correctness is concentrated into the end of the factory smart contract. This is very important because you don't want to have bugs, because you might lose money if you have bugs into your smart contracts, or you might lose money from your customers. You can be sued for it. So it's better to have someone that is very good at programming smart contracts and knows the specification of the platform that is used. And finally, it allows for a verification of the input parameters. Right, so if a firm requests the creation of an instant smart contract, but the parameters don't make sense, we could have some warnings. Yeah, in conclusion, we demonstrated that a partial redistribution of the profit can influence the return on the investment distribution in a useful way. Smart contract deployment of the system was proposed using a factory pattern. And in the end, further research and simulations are needed, specifically to lower the probability for a firm to lose money after the end of the smart contract. And we have some ideas about how we could do this in the future. Thank you for your attention.
I think there is time for only one question.
Yep.
Are you planning on turning this into an EIP, a standard for Ethereum?
A standard?
Yes.
Not really. I think for now we mostly need to really understand how it works, what are the implications of that kind of system. Specifically when it comes to the risk and return, right? Because we have this distribution and we need to know, okay, so what kind of parameters do we need to put into the system to, for example, reduce the amount of companies that are losing money? What kind of relation is there mathematically? And yeah, and also, I don't know. Yeah, look at other things, like the demand function. For now, it's a linear decreasing function. It's not best. Usually we use nonlinear functions for this. And we could also think about a more complex redistribution scheme. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.